So let's start off by talking about what resolutions really are.
Okay, so let's put it really simply. A resolution is simply a promise that one would make to yourself to either do or not do something. It would actually be very similar to setting a goal for yourself. So that's how we would like to look at resolutions, as a goal or a purpose for the year that somebody is setting for themselves. And it would be really interesting to know that, it's not a new thing. Resolutions aren't a recent thing. They've actually been around for 4,000 years, apparently. So the Babylonians actually used to set a very different kind of resolution, but I mean, they should promise to the gods. Now it's more like we just promise to ourselves.
Ourselves, yeah. All right, I did not know that. That was quite interesting. So, why do you think people have trouble sticking to their resolutions?
I think when it comes to resolutions, a lot of people tend to have something we call the fresh start effect. So a lot of times people view the new year as kind of like a temporal landmark. They feel that once this temporal landmark, everything is going to be new, everything is going to be fresh. So a lot of times people think that whatever change before the temporal landmark, they will be able to change automatically and very quickly post this landmark. But it's kind of tricky because considering we set resolutions at the end of at the end of holiday season, things that we couldn't do throughout the year are tricky to be done just immediately after the holiday season. And I think overall, people just kind of overestimate how much we can do and how much we can realistically achieve. I think there is also another factor which we call the enjoyment factor. Tanvi, do you want to like speak about that? The enjoyment factor when it comes to.
Yeah, absolutely. So most people, when they set resolutions, either are looking at things that are important to them or things that they enjoy. And they feel that both factors would motivate them to stick with resolutions. But a lot of research has found that it's actually more the enjoyment factor that drives people to stick to resolutions, which is why the more difficult resolutions related to, say, our health or well-being actually become really tough to keep up with, because they may not be as enjoyable, so to say. There's actually a bit more on how people look at self change and how easy or difficult it would be. Gail, what do you think about that?
I think when people look at change, they always tend to set a very high standard for themselves, like whether it's with respect to your physical health or even with respect to, say, getting a new job or having like a career change. People always believe that once they make that big change, it would make them happier. But somehow that is not true, especially when you're setting goals and the goals are not realistic. We set very high expectations for ourselves, then also becomes difficult to follow through with those goals. And I think one of the major aspects of why goals eventually become overwhelming is because we attach the word should to it. That I should be doing this or I should be doing that. And when the word should is attached to a lot of things, we impose a lot of shame and guilt on ourselves once it is not achieved. So I think overall, these are the aspects that largely make goals a little difficult to be achieved and resolutions a little difficult to be stuck with, throughout the year. And I think a lot of people see this just within the first few days of the year, just within probably the first week, they see that they're failing because they've just set very high expectations for themselves, which are very difficult to actually achieve.